Welcome, everyone, to This Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a truly stunning moral tale, a tale of honesty and greed. Now, on the surface, you might think it's just a simple story about a bird, a wise man, and a lost ring. But as we start to peel back the layers, we're going to uncover some incredibly profound spiritual lessons about human nature, the everyday temptations we face, and, the true meaning of integrity.
Okay, let's dive into this. Can a bird actually teach a human true honesty? I mean, it sounds almost like a paradox, doesn't it? We usually think of ourselves, humans, as the ones with this complex, high-level morality, while animals just sort of operate on basic survival instincts. But this narrative? It completely flips that assumption on its head. It challenges us to look at the natural world not just as background scenery, but as a literal moral compass.
Part 1. The Pious White Pigeon.
So, to understand how this works, let's set the scene. Imagine this beautifully serene, ancient valley. The air is perfectly calm, the sun is shining, and right next to an old stone house stands this majestic olive tree. Sitting quietly on a branch is our protagonist, a beautiful white pigeon with glowing eyes. Our source actually describes this unique bird as one who glorifies the divine. You see, this pigeon's daily routine is pretty much a masterclass in mindfulness. Every single morning, it flies out looking for its daily provision. And here is the really beautiful part. No matter what it finds, whether it's just a meager handful of seeds or an absolute feast, it practices profound, unwavering gratitude. It doesn't hoard anything, it never complains. It just accepts its lot with total purity of heart.
Part 2. The Hakim's Lost Ring.
Now, let's shift our gaze down from the branches of that olive tree to the peaceful garden right below it. This is where we meet the second key figure in our story. He's a kind, wise old healer, a Hakim, who lives a life of quiet devotion right there in the valley. On this particular sunny afternoon, he's sitting outside, deeply focused on mixing his natural medicines. And right here is where the inciting incident of our story happens. While his hands are busy working, his most prized possession, a brilliantly shiny diamond ring, just slips right off his finger. And the kicker? It vanishes completely into the thick green grass. The Hakim is so absorbed in his good work, he doesn't even realize it's gone. He eventually just packs up and heads inside. But remember our pigeon? Right. It's been sitting up in the tree the whole time, watching this entire sequence unfold.
But before we see what happens to the ring, let's just pause for a second and unpack the heavy spiritual weight of this moment. In the source narrative, the pigeon realizes something incredibly profound as it sees a stranger approaching the garden. The bird actually thinks, if this greedy man steals the ring, his provision will become spiritually unlawful, meaning his wealth becomes completely tainted. Think about that perspective for a minute. The bird isn't just worried about the Hakim losing his favorite piece of jewelry. No, the bird is literally worried about the spiritual corruption of the person who might take it. It's an absolutely fascinating look at the concept of ethical wealth.
Part 3. Greed and the Thief.
And that brings a sudden, tense shift to our beautifully serene setting. Enter our antagonist, a cunning villager who happens to be sneaking past the garden. Through the dramatic framing of the narrative, his eyes catch that undeniable, bright sparkle in the grass. Now, does he pause to wonder who it belongs to? Nope. Does he look around for the owner? Not at all. Driven purely by greed, he immediately snatches the diamond ring off the ground, looks around suspiciously, and shoves it deep into his pocket. And this brilliantly illustrates the central conflict we're exploring today. On one side, we have the pigeon, right? Operating on complete, pure gratitude for whatever natural provision it finds. On the exact opposite side, we have the greedy man. He isn't satisfied with what he has. He actively chooses to steal to increase his wealth unethically. It's basically the ultimate clash between spiritual purity and dangerous human greed.
Part 4. The Pigeon's Intervention.
All right, so now things really speed up. The thief thinks he's gotten away with it, right? He's walking away, probably already spending the money in his head. But human greed always wants just one more look. The guy simply cannot resist the urge to pull the shiny diamond ring out of his pocket just to admire his stolen treasure in his open hand. And, well, that was his fatal mistake. Look at how incredibly fast this next sequence plays out. First second, the thief is mesmerized, staring at the ring. Second second, our heroic white pigeon swoops down from the sky with just blinding speed. By the third second, it's a full mid-air action shot. The bird snatches the ring right out of the thief's open hand with its beak and shoots straight back up into the sky. The thief tries to scramble and chase it, but the bird is already way too high. And in the 4th second, the pigeon flies straight into the Hakim's house, dropping the precious ring right onto the floor in front of its rightful owner.
Part 5. The lesson of honesty.
Let's slow our pacing back down for a moment and look at the emotional payoff of this scene. Inside the house, the wise old Hakim is absolutely stunned. When he finally realizes what the bird has just done, this huge, tearful smile spreads across his face. In a really beautiful, heartwarming gesture, he gently strokes the pigeon's head and feeds it fresh grains. The bird's pure nature has officially restored balance to the valley. This whole sequence, it perfectly defines the concept of absolute trustworthiness. Actually, scratch that, it goes beyond just defining it, it lives it. It's the strict moral obligation to protect and return what belongs to another person, utterly rejecting the temptation of greed. And this lesson isn't just for the audience, it hits the thief incredibly hard. The source tells us the greedy man actually followed the bird to the house. When he witnesses this unbelievable act of trustworthiness from a mere bird, he is overwhelmed with intense shame. Right then and there, he apologizes to the Hakim and promises to abandon his greedy ways forever.
So, the crucial point is this. What do we actually take away from this beautifully crafted narrative? First off, true gratitude protects the soul. The pigeon was completely safe from temptation simply because it was already thankful for what it had. Second, greed transforms blessings into something spiritually tainted. It literally takes something beautiful and corrupts it. And finally, honesty isn't just some passive state of being, it's an active choice. The bird didn't just ignore the thief and go about its day. It actively intervened to correct a wrong and uphold trustworthiness.
Which brings us to the ultimate question I want to leave you with today. The source narrative wraps up its moral with a thought that should really echo in all of our minds. When an innocent bird so implicitly understands trustworthiness, why is it so incredibly hard for us humans to just leave our greed behind? Think about how you might be able to apply the pigeon's unwavering moral clarity to your own life today. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I'll catch you next time.